So I made my first dollar on the internet today, and here's how that happened. I was on my way home and I was texting this friend, and I suddenly remembered that I had been trying to make money online and it had not been a fruitful endeavor so far. And I remember reading something from the book $1 Million Weekend, that a lot of people who want to be entrepreneurs never make money because they never ask for it. As a result, they never make the sales. And there seemed to be an exercise in the book of asking for $1 from somebody, and that's somehow beneficial. I didn't remember exactly what that exercise was in the book or why it's beneficial or how to do it. I just knew at the time that I was terrified to make a sale because I'm not sure if I've ever made a sales, and sales involves asking and getting rejection, and that's all very terrifying to me. So I thought that $1 is probably a good place to start, since I've never made $1 in my life before online. So I just texted my friend in the middle of that text conversation out of the blue and said, "Can you send me $1?" My friend thought that this had to do with something we were discussing previously because we were in the middle of a text conversation. So I had to make some clarification. I say, "No, this is unrelated to what we have been talking about, and I really am asking you to send me $1 for no reason." So he asked me, "Why do you need $1?" And here's my sales pitch. I said, because I've been endeavoring to make money online. So far I've had no success. So I believe there is a mental barrier where the first $1 is the hardest, and by you sending me $1, I shall conceptualize it as the first $1 I made online, thereby bypassing the mental barrier. This was not scripted. Obviously, I was literally walking back to my place and texting my friend at the same time, and I had to stop walking in the middle of the street, step to the side so I don't block the foot traffic, because I was afraid that I would bump into a tree and die by walking and texting. So I was standing there in the middle of the street trying to figure out exactly what I'm thinking and why I'm thinking it, and what exactly I want and why I want it, and how to articulate that, and articulating it in real time to my friend via text. And my friend agreed, and that's my first sale of my first $1 ever made online. And to be precise, my friend actually sent me 1.96 Canadian dollars. I believe pun was intended here, and this is roughly 1.23 American dollars, which is above $1. So this is meeting the requirement of the mission of making my first $1 online. And there are 2 points I want to make about this that is useful takeaways. First is that the first of anything can be a blocker. If you've never made any money before, making money for the first time is going to be especially challenging. Right? If you never lifted weight before, going to the gym for the first time, that very first time is potentially going to be more challenging. And the pitfall is to let that blocker win over you. It's true that making money for the first time is more difficult than making money the second time, and if you've never made money before, the first step is going to be the hardest, potentially. But if you just never take that first step as a result of it being hard, then you never start your journey and you never get what you want. So the solution to that, fortunately, is that you get to decide how small that first step is. As long as it is a step is a step, right? Regardless of how large that step is. The first step can be arbitrarily small. In my case, the first step of making money online is to make $1, which, looking back, seems pretty easy. I just asked my friend for it, and I explained why, honestly and accurately, to the degree that I'm able, and he sends it to me. But it was scary at the time to ask my good friend for $1 for no reason out of the blue. Seems bizarre. I'm glad that it was met with such camaraderie, but I wasn't expecting that. The fear and the anxiety before I take the leap and ask would make me think of scenarios of rejections that are far scarier than anything that happens in reality. So make your first step small as possible, so that you can take the first step. You can take it as soon as possible and get over it, so that you can think about taking the second step. If you've never gone to the gym before, just make the first step being walking inside the gym, pick up a weight, put it down, and run away. Or even just stand inside the gym door for 5 seconds, right? Just make your first step as small as possible so that you can get that out of the way, get the difficulty of the first out of the way, so that you can start your journey and start worrying about how to walk the next step afterwards, when you've already taken the first step and in some way no longer as affected by the fear of the first step, because the fear is in some way a distraction. It takes a lot of your mental capacity to deal with. It's impacting your ability to think clearly. It's taking up all these resources. So if you've never done something before and you are therefore afraid of it, just find the smallest step that's possible that you can take and just take it. Get that done, get it done fast, get it out of the way so you can start the journey. Now the second thing has to do with asking. It's simply true that if you never ask, you won't get what you want. You can't just sit there and expect the world to read your mind and give you what you want. You're asking for two impossible things here. Number one, that the world reads your mind, and number two, that the world hands you what you want without you exerting any effort. So it's impossible squared. So you have to ask to get what you want, and the entrepreneurial journey is one that is paved with many situations where you have to ask. And they're not going to be easier or less uncomfortable than the asking experience I just had of asking my friend for $1 for no reason out of the blue. But you can't let discomfort stop you. You have to take the first step and ask the first time and keep asking when asking is required. And what is beautiful about this process is, at least for me, what I anticipate in my mind about the scary outcome of asking is rarely true. I thought my friend was going to flip out and thought I was weird and make fun of me or whatever for asking him for $1. It did not occur to me that my friend would be so supportive, and it's odd that I wouldn't expect my friend to be supportive because that's my good friend. We've been friends for years. We've been through a bunch of stuff together. Of course, we'd be supportive to each other, and yet the fear in my mind generates some pretty irrational scenarios of rejections that don't really happen in reality. So it is my hypothesis at this point that many things that we are scared to ask because we expect terrible outcome as a result of our asking would actually result very much in our favor if we just gather the courage to ask. Steve Jobs talked about this in his interview. He talked about an experience he had when he was a kid where he just cold called Bill Hewlett, the co-founder of HP, and just asked him for spare parts for a project that he was working on for school, and got a job at his company just because he asked. And Steve Jobs said that every time he asks, people wants to help him. Not sure if that's actually statistically true, but I don't see why not, in a way. If you genuinely need help and you are genuinely asking for help with good intentions, people don't tend to tell you to fuck off. People would at least want to hear about what exactly it is that you need. And if they can't give you what they want, they'd at least want to refer you to someone that they think can help you. And the mind-blowing thing starts to happen when you just ask and expecting something terrible to happen and it doesn't happen, and instead something great happens, and you're standing there and you think, okay, so all I needed to do was ask? I mean, it was uncomfortable at the beginning, I guess, but it wasn't so bad. The whole thing that I was so afraid of, it turns out like this? This is it? This is the thing that was blocking me from embarking on my journey? This is the thing that's blocking me from achieving my dream life? This is what's been stopping me this entire time? How many other things can I ask now? If this is as bad as it gets, okay, then let me do this nonstop. Just what other opportunities have I foregone in fear of asking? What other stuff can I ask? From whom? You start to get a little bit addicted to that process. Now, of course, things aren't going to work out every time you ask, and recognize that this was a good friend of mine that I asked for $1 from. If I just ask a stranger for $1, they'll probably just ignore me and assume that I'm homeless. But the fact remains that if you don't ask, you won't get what you want. And if you've never asked, I would recommend that you do.